Let's talk about 24. As you said, I think 24 for Vistara, first for Vistara, was one of our best years, in fact the best year over the last 10 years of our existence. From multiple aspects, I think if you look at it from an operational perspective, we've grown quite significantly. We had almost a 25 to 30% growth in terms of ASKs for 24. We've also increased a lot of international presence. Our closing the year, we were almost 35 to 40% international ASKs, so that was also a very positive move. And of course financially, so we've done much better compared to before, mainly on the back of very strong top line numbers. So when you look at the unit numbers for 24, whether it's yields, load factors, RASK, they have definitely been very strong. Of course, the same about a year ago, we had the collapse of one of the airlines, the suspension of Go First, which also played a role. And then, of course, that momentum continued towards the rest of the year. The other good thing for us is through the year, we also added, as I said, a lot more international routes. So that obviously is a place where we are a lot more, we make our mark much better on international as compared to domestic because of the product that we have and the model that we have. So definitely for us, it was a good year. I think that's the case for the industry as well. 24 was generally good. 25 has not been a great start. If you look at April and May, it's been a bit slow. I think probably because of the elections, also the year-on-year effect, because you're comparing to May when you had a very good May 23, for example. So it's been a bit slow, but I think the rest of the year should catch up. Look, the way I see it, definitely there is a scope for FSCs in general. If you look at it worldwide, there are FSCs that do well, even in markets where there is significant LCC presence. Of course, in India, it's a situation where 80% of the market is LCC, at least for domestic. So that does have a role to play when it comes to pricing, when it comes to how you can, especially if your scale is lower than perhaps the other competitors. But having said that, I think there is definitely a need and a market for a full service carrier in India, and we've proved it. I think we've done relatively well. If we were able to scale up, and if we had a little bit more runway, perhaps it would have been even better. But at the end of the day, the question is, there is also all these articles coming out about premiumization, about how the Indian traveler is migrating upwards and doesn't mind paying a bit more. And we're seeing that. For example, a case study is our premium economy, which when we started off, it was not as perhaps, maybe we were a bit too aggressive about it, but then we've seen that mature. In fact, after COVID, the subscription on premium economy class has actually increased. And when we don't deploy aircraft with premium economy, customers come back to us and say, why isn't there a premium economy? So definitely there's a space for it, and I'm not just talking about premium economy, there's business as well. Again, because if you're looking at building hubs in India, which then transition on the long haul, you will need an elegant, right up to the last mile. So I don't think the case is totally lost. Yes, it's not easy, given, as I said, from a competition perspective and pricing perspective, you always have to be, able to cover the additional cost of being an FSC. But I don't think that it's impossible. So let's talk about timelines. I was not here in the morning, but Campbell might have told you as well on what we're working towards. There are still certain regulatory approvals that we're waiting for. NCLT is one of them, which we hope to get in the coming weeks. But the timeline that we are working towards operationally for the merger is towards end of this year. Now, between now to then, there's a lot of things that need to happen. The first thing is, as we had a joint town hall as well last month, the most important, in fact, is the people aspect, to tell people what exactly their role is going to be, what their fitment is, and what role they're going to play in the bigger entity. And as we said before, this is a merger for growth. It's not a merger for cost cutting. So there is going to be opportunities for everyone. And I think we want to make sure that we provide some certainty and some direction on this in the coming weeks by end of the month. And that's the plan. Once that is done, then we move on to operationalizing the merger. Assuming we get the approvals, it's not like, the airline business is a little bit more unique, where you've got, in my case, 70 aircraft that have to be transferred. You have crew that have to be transferred, and the process is not easy because there's a significant regulatory oversight for good reason. So we are working with the regulators on that. I think that process will start. Once we have the approvals, in fact, we'll be reaching out publicly to customers, to our partners, to the media, to tell them, look, these are the steps, these are the timelines, and this is what we're going to do. So as we do all that over the next, I would say, a few months, Yes, there would be some kind of transition of people as well, because more and more we want to make sure that the people who have played such a good role and an important role within Vistara are also providing their experience and expertise on the Air India side. So the people have already started to move. I think that process will be accelerated once we get the NCLT and the fitment is all done. So that process will start. Of course, the people who are operational, whether it's the crew, ground staff, security staff, they will have to wait till the aircraft transfer happens. So that's going to happen towards the last part of this year, and after that, then the AOC and the brand sunset and everything takes place. Look, I've been fortunate enough, thanks to Leslie and PTEC and the entire team. In fact, a lot of people have been around from day one, and they literally put in blood, sweat and tears to build this brand. So there's a lot of emotional, currency that's associated with it. So obviously it's an emotional decision as well. It's not going to be, I wouldn't say it's a walk in the park. But having said that, I think people are very mindful of the reasons why we are going ahead with this merger. There's scope for growth. Overnight, you go from a 70 aircraft airline to a 300 plus aircraft airline, which means more opportunity, which means there's more chances that someone moves up the career ladder faster as well, whether you're a crew, whether you're a ground staff, whether you're in IT, finance, whatever it is. So I think that part is not lost on people. So generally there's positivity, again, because the shareholders are the same and therefore the direction is quite clear. So again, having said that, there will always be certain queries, there will be questions, there will be sections of pockets of people like you've seen in the recent past where there are questions that are raised. But my commitment to them, as is my chairman's and as is my board's and my shareholders, is to be as open and transparent as possible. And if we can't do something, there's a reason why we can't do it. When you're bringing together 4 airlines, there are certain things that can be done, there are certain things that take a longer time. So I think that is something that I'm in constant discussion with my team. Externally, of course, it's something where we do get feedback from consumers as well. What's going to happen to me? What's going to happen to my points? What's going to happen to my flights? So we've started that process of communication, as you know. As far as Club Vistara points, we make sure that there's an elegant soft landing. And for customers who booked on us, soon you'll also be hearing from us once we have details on the timelines on how we are planning to migrate. So it's a brand that we built with a lot of effort, and it's a brand that we cherish, and more importantly, a brand that India trusts. I think the transition to the new brand, new entity of Air India, we hope will be smooth, and time will definitely tell that we build an even better and bigger brand. Yeah. So look, you know what happened in the US 20 years ago, and you know where the US market is. Most of the profits from the airline industry today come from the US and from US and Europe. So obviously, I'm not saying that that's where it's going to be or that's where it's going to go, but in the aviation business, you need patient capital, you need people who are committed to it, you need people who are passionate about it, and I'm not saying that others are not. I'm just saying that there is definitely going to be a lot more chances of us as an industry within India doing well when it's a little bit more structured market. So let's hope for the best.